Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we discuss all things concerning this beautiful place we call home, the County of Sonoma. Once again, I'm your host, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. Today, our topic is storm damage, particularly concerning county roads, bridges, and other infrastructure. And we are very grateful to have as our guest today the Director of the Department of Public Infrastructure, Johannes Hoevertsz. And before we talk to Johannes, we'd like to remind you all of our weekly trivia question. Our question this week is this. In our second episode of SoCo Chat, we interviewed Diva Marie Proto, who is the county's clerk, recorder, assessor, and registrar of voters. During our discussion, we mentioned Sonoma County has one of the highest voter turnouts in the state. The question is, what was the total voter turnout in Sonoma County for the 2020 presidential election? Once again, we were looking for the total voter turnout in Sonoma County for the 2020 election. If you know that percentage, call us at 707-565-2242. That's 565-2242, or email us at publicaffairs, one word, at sonoma-county.org. Be sure to include your name and phone number so we can get back to you and let you know if you win. And once again, if you are the first caller back with the correct answer, you'll get a chance to win one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs. Anyway, with that, Johannes, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Paul.
Yeah, it's the first time we've had you in our new studio here,
Yes.
so we're
Thank
grateful. We know you've thought about this in the past, and we're thankful to be building on your ideas here. Before we jump into today's discussion of the winter storm preparation and response and all that, can you briefly just tell listeners what is it that your Department of Public Infrastructure does and your job in particular?
Sure. Thank you, Paul. Public infrastructure, as you know, merge transportation and public works with general services. So we have we manage the airport. We have roads, bridges, engineering, 4 water systems. We have fleet, we have transit, we have the refuse, landfill. We have capital improvement projects. We have facilities and development management. So it's a 284 staff department, about a $380 million budget. And we enjoy what we do. It's so broad and fascinating what we do. We enjoy it.
Yeah, well, if it involves a truck, a backhoe, or a shovel, you're probably involved in some way.
We're there somehow, yes.
Yeah. Well, we know this is a busy time for you in particular. Sonoma County just experienced what was described by PG&E as the largest single storm event in the company's 120-year history. Can you give us, I know that you're often out in the field, right, during these events. Can you give us an overview of what you saw, why this was such a significant event, and what's the status of the storm damage at this point?
Absolutely. I was in the field on Friday. I was also in the field on Monday after the event. And between that, I was in my home managing the event with the road maintenance people. This event was different than the one in 2023 in like there's a lot more wind. It was a moderate rain event, according to what we saw.
Yeah, we didn't see the Russian River didn't flood.
Right.
Yeah.
But the wind was significant.
Yeah.
And that's what tripped a lot of people. A lot of power lines down, trees down. At some point on Sunday, we had to pull back a little bit because it wasn't safe for our guys to be out. Too many trees falling, too many power lines, and we have to wait for PG&E to de-energize those lines before we can get them and cut the trees. So, but then again, we were out at 5 or 6 in the morning when we're back working, and we did what we had to do.
So we because the ground was so saturated, we did see a lot of these trees toppling, and so it was a combination of significant events that made that all possible, right?
Absolutely. A flood event like this with wind, excuse me, it's more difficult to manage than a fire because we have multiple incidents happen countywide
all over, yeah.
And I've seen trees that fell on houses and split them and power lines and it's a lot of destruction. But working with our firefighters partners, utility partners, and our crews, we were able to do the work that we needed to do safely without anyone getting hurt.
Yeah. That's remarkable, and you really have a reputation of getting out there quickly to get these roads fixed and cleared. I mean, we had dozens of road closures at one point between the flooding and the down lines or trees, right?
At some point, we had 37 road closed.
Mm,
Today, we have 4 road closed due
okay.
to down, power lines and trees. I was out on Sunday, and AT&T and the utilities were working on restoring utility and power
Mm,
to the residents.
okay. All right. Now, as we're speaking, we're kind of between storms right now. We got and according to the National Weather Service, we got another some more severe weather coming our way this weekend and into next week. May not be as strong of winds, but we do have some wind events that are happening there. Tell us what is it your department does in a time like this and to prepare for winter weather and to help limit the impacts on the public.
So our guys, we prepare them. We have to rest them from the last event.
Right.
We don't work overtime or working on projects that are difficult for them, get them tired and all any of that. So they're rested. We prepare our equipment, maintain our equipment, fuel our vehicles, pre-position resources where we're going to be mostly affected, which is typically West County, the 5th district. And we just clear drainage, culverts, make sure that we
Getting
can,
ready for
they're
water
getting
that's
ready
coming.
for water.
Mm-hmm.
We know where we get localized flooding, so we're aware of that. I don't know if we're going to flood where we normally flood. So, you never know how the event is going to go. You just have to be quick to respond to whatever happens.
Yeah. And I assume you're constantly touring the county looking for trees that are leaning the wrong way or there might be a problem coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's regular maintenance.
Yeah.
And we have guys during the storm also just looking at everything, make sure that culverts don't plug.
Mm-hmm.
We have found that when we're doing chipping, for example, which is a good thing we're doing, we're cutting trees,
Right.
chipping.
Yeah.
But when we have chips in the swales, when it rains, they washed out and they plug the culverts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working with our partners on where to place chips so we don't plug our culverts or anything else that can, there's debris that can plug culverts and it could happen really quick. There's a tree that falls down on a creek, it falls the wrong way, water comes and it washes off a culvert or a bridge. So
Right. Yeah.
we're always got to have eyes on
Suddenly you got a problem.
that.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about what you do on the day of the storms. You said you were out there at 5 a.m. What are your crews doing? What are they partnering with like fire and PG&E and sheriffs and others?
Absolutely. So our crews are there to open roads. There's like a code in the road maintenance. Roads are there to be open. They're not to be closed. We close them temporarily, but we try to get all the roads closed. So the day of the storm, our firefighters are partners on opening roads. Law enforcement, typically, they don't open roads. They don't have chainsaws or anything like that.
Right.
So we open the roads for the firemen, and sometimes firemen have chainsaws as well. We open roads for ambulances, for law enforcement, for utilities, for the public. So we're there first thing. When a tree goes down and it hits a power line, then we have to wait for PG&E to deactivate that line.
I see.
So our guys are always checking for that. We get reports from Redcom. They come to our department, and then we dispatch our guys.
Redcom being the regional
The
dispatcher.
regional dispatch.
How long is it? Do you have a good association with PG&E so that when you need to have a deactivated power line, you don't have a long wait? Hopefully,
We do. However, this event, when we met with Redcom, I think they were sharing that they had about 1,600 calls that night, and they were overwhelmed, and so was PG&E.
Yeah.
So we had to take our turn and prioritize what roads we were going to open first, because there were roads all over the county closed, from Highway 1 to county roads and city roads that were closed.
Yeah. Well, tell me more about that. I mean, I often wonder, how do you prioritize when you've got 36 road closures? How do you prioritize which ones to open and which ones to work on first?
Yeah, so with life and safety, it's the priority, right?
Okay.
So where you have live wires, those are the priority for us.
Okay.
If there's a tree and that's something simple, Paul, we just cut the tree, open the road. We go for that, for the easy ones. But when you have live wires, you have to prioritize those, wait for PG&E and open them. Typically, local roads, of course, take the they stay behind. We try to open vital roads,
When
evacuation
you say
roads.
local roads, you mean like
The
to
small,
neighborhoods,
yes.
not like the major,
Right.
like River Road or something?
Yeah, we call them arterials or
Okay.
collectors,
Okay.
bigger roads. We try to open those things.
Of course.
116, River Road, because they provide critical access to certain parts of the county.
Right. And once again, that critical, you want to make sure there's open up to our first responders, right?
Right.
Our ambulances and firefighters in case there's something else they need to get to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so and what do you do on those days? What is your? I mean, you always amaze me. You were out there in the field. You're not sitting behind a desk often. You're really trying to orchestrate these things. You're the conductor.
I don't like to stay home. I don't like to be in the office when things like this happen. It helps when we need to make decisions that need to be quick, and I like to support our teams, the road maintenance team. So I'm listening to the scanner. We're in constant communication with, in the 5th District, Supervisor Hopkins. She's very engaged.
Yep.
So I'm in communication with her by text. I'm in communication with our guys by text, by radio, by phone, everything that happens. Depending on the severity of the event, then we may decide to open the Department Operations Center.
Yeah.
And that's in our Santa Rosa yard. We haven't had to do that in the last 2 events because, our guys are really good at what they do. Yeah. But if we need to, they'll let me know.
Yeah.
And we'll address it. But I'm all over the place. I go out, I help out. Supervisor Hopkins or someone call me. Sometimes I like to go put eyes on whatever it's happening. In Culver, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? But I don't want to be in the way, but I'm there somewhere.
Yeah.
If it's not raining, I go out and I do damage assessment. We have a drone in the department, so I fly the drone. We take shots, share with the engineer, so we plan what's going to be the fix for this.
Yeah.
I
remember there was a problem with a culvert near Guerneville. I remember that it backed up, and you were trying to clear it. As I recall, you were out there.
That was on Giovanetti Road.
Right?
Giovanetti Road, and we couldn't find where the culvert was.
Yeah.
So it was plugged. So it was
causing a flooding.
I got a little stick from one of the neighbors, and I was just looking for the culvert. And then our guys, I was able to share with the guys where the culvert is, because when the water is muddy, you can't see the culvert. Then I let them know where the culvert was, and then they came and cleaned it.
Do you keep your plastic boots in your truck with you?
I do.
I
have all my gear in the truck. Yeah.
Well, give us some advice, to our listeners. Like I said, we're between events right now. What should residents be doing to prepare for future storms?
So from my, looking at it from the PI perspective, I would say
PI being public infrastructure, your department.
Yeah, sorry about that. Public infrastructure. Charge your batteries. Prepare your vehicle if you have to evacuate, or if you have a slide, or if you lose the road, and avoid unnecessary travel on our roads. I'm looking at it from a road perspective. Stay out of the road if it's windy. Even if you're not flooding, the trees can come down and hit you. You know what happened on Highway 101.
Right.
Yeah. So trees are a significant threat when we have wind events and flooding like we've had. So that would be my best advice. And of course, the number one issue that we've been dealing lately is don't drive over flooded roads.
Yeah.
Turn around, don't drown.
Yeah. Well, that is an issue, right? I mean, how much energy gets put into people who try to drive through? They think they can make it through,
right,
and then they find out they can't. Yeah. And so much that takes a lot of resources to go help that truck or that driver. And unfortunately, there are times when it ends up in tragic outcomes. So turn around, don't drown. That's the thing.
Don't drown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where can people find information on how to prepare and be ready for storms like this?
So we have, SoCoEmergency.org,
yeah,
the DEM.
Great information.
In our website is mostly geared toward road closures.
Okay.
We have road closures both in English and Spanish, and we have a GIS map so we can tell you what road is closed and why it's closed. Those are the resources that we have. If we have live and dynamic situations, then we post them on Facebook, X, just so people get quick updates.
Yeah, I really encourage people to bookmark that road closure GIS map, which you can find on SoCo-E and the public infrastructure website, because it's a great real-time map showing you road closures, flooded areas, even some power outages, and it's a great information on that site.
It is. We work hard for to work on that page after the fires.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
have a lot of when during the event we have a lot of people closing roads. We have law enforcement, utilities, fire, roads. So it's really difficult to keep all track of all that. So I'm working with. We actually had a meeting after this event on how to improve and do better on live road closures. I met with some representatives from Google,
Mm-hmm.
and we're working on a solution to try to do that. So everyone knows the roads that are closed, maybe not instantly, but significantly faster than what we're doing it now.
That's fantastic. I look forward to hearing
Yeah,
more about that.
yeah.
Well, are there other community engagement efforts that your department is involved in to help the interest in maintaining public safety and getting the public up to speed on what they could be doing?
Yeah, so this year we tried two things that were different that we've learned throughout the years. We've done some of it throughout the years. This year there was two measures that we tried. One was preemptively closing certain roads, and
Okay.
we closed 5 roads that people are aggressively trying to cross them when they're flooded.
Oh,
And we tried that, and it was a success.
okay.
I mean, no one got stranded or stuck on the roads.
That's
So,
smart.
so I think it was good. We actually got feedback from residents asking us to close more roads and sharing how we should close the roads so people don't go around the signs and try to cross them, which to me is fascinating. And when we get that support from the community, you know that you hit a chord with them.
Right.
The other one is we've been working on a communication system that the board allocated some funding. It's a general mobile radio service.
Hmm.
And we were able to communicate with this group of people that have the radio,
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood auxiliary communication
All right.
service.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to communicate all throughout the storm. When I was in Summer Home Park, where there's no cell reception, I was able to communicate across the river with people in Rio Nido
Mm-hmm.
and in Hacienda
Oh, cool.
and in Casadero from that location, just with a 5-watt radio. We used it last year to monitor the elderly. When there's no power, people
Mhm.
need
The
medicine,
vulnerable. Yeah.
fuel for their generators, food. So we were able to do so that community is helping us,
Hmm.
and we work really, really close with them. And I think those really two things for me were really cool that we were able to help the
Yeah.
community. We were able to reduce the risk of people crossing the roads, which benefits everyone in the
Yeah,
community.
I love that kind of partnership.
Yeah.
That's that really speaks to the strength of community working
Right,
together.
right.
Everybody. Well, tell me, Johannes, in it, the rest of the year when you don't have a crisis you're dealing with or a storm coming through, you have a lot of work anyway, right?
Mhm.
And particularly I want to focus on road maintenance. It's always a challenge to keep up with. Paving, keeping our roads paved, and dealing with potholes. Every storm brings more
Mhm.
potholes. Tell us about your efforts in that area.
So there's always the resources are never match the need, right? They never match
Right.
the need that we have. So we are actually, Paul, for the first time now since 2017, able to work on some hardcore transportation projects.
Hmm.
We have 2 big bridges. We have Big Waller, which is Waller Bridge over the Russian
Yeah,
River.
beautiful spot there.
Yeah, so we're rehabbing this year. We're rehabbing that bridge. We have Big Sulphur also. Big Waller, by the way, it's a $17 million project.
Yeah.
Big Sulphur is a $7 million project. So we're getting to transportation projects, which we
Mhm.
love. The pavement preservation program, which the board supports, and we love to work on that.
Mhm.
Last 2 years, we've had more projects than ever. I think we had over $30 million
Yeah.
of pavement preservation. Our team, Janice Thompson, she's the deputy for engineering. They've been doing an awesome job with the pavement.
Yeah.
We will also work on traffic signals, a lot of, variety of projects. On the facility side, we're working on the county government center. We're working on moving people from here to there. A lot of things that we do, rehabbing buildings. We're working on the capital improvements program now to present to the CAO.
Mhm.
That's going to bring a lot of resiliency, preservation of community assets, veterans buildings. So we're really excited on what we're bringing in the way of capital improvement projects. That is separate from the disaster work that we've been
Right.
doing. Disaster work has been handled by special projects units that we have in the department, and they are solely concentrated on those projects.
Mhm.
They don't mix with the pavement preservation guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The teams. which we found to be really efficient on delivering projects. Because, we have funding restrictions for both.
Right.
And FEMA is, it's a different agency to work for or with.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this a little bit with Supervisor Rabbit, we are one of the few counties in the state, I think only two, that actually tap into some of our general funds money and not dependent on gas tax to actually pave our roads and try to keep up. And you guys do a remarkable job with not as much, with a lot of unincorporated roads, right?
Yeah.
Like 1,400 miles.
1,383. Yeah. So
1,383.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
you
exact.
gotta remember that number. Supervisor Rabbit.
Oh, he knows
so,
that.
Yeah.
He said that if you stretch it from here, it'll go all the way to Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
I think he said. So it's a
he-
good reminder.
He's awesome. He's one of our biggest supporters when it comes to pavement preservation.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned a number of other projects. Obviously, you've got your hand in a lot of things about the county the development of the new administration center. Could you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, that's a long-term ambitious project. You don't need to go into a lot of detail, but tell us a little what's behind that.
Absolutely. So we've been working with the board and our teams on building a county government center. We're probably going to move about 40% of the county workforce. The plan is coming to the board, I want to say in April or May. We're bringing the plan to the board, and that would be to build either one structure or two structures, two buildings near PRMD. And we're excited about that. We have a lot of people that we want to move. We have to save the county some money. We have a lot of old buildings that need to be demoed.
And that's really the issue here, right? That we've had this center that's now over 50 years old, 55 years old, whatever, and there's a lot of deferred maintenance and leaky roofs, and we got a lot of issues. We need to do something, right?
Right. Yeah, and we're ready for it. I think it's going to be a really good project. We're combining housing with the project. We have an emergency coordination center, 2 buildings. We have certain plans to add not only housing, but some type of commercial, maybe a hotel. It's going to be really, really exciting to, see the final product on how we change the existing county campus as we know it.
Yeah. Well, we're excited. We may have you back just to talk about that, maybe as we get into more of the details of what that plan, because we know there's a lot of public interest in that. But if you don't mind, I'd like to get into a little personal side. Johannes, tell us about your background and how you got to be where you are within public infrastructure.
Yeah, so I went to school to be, Fresno State and Fresno.
You're a bulldog.
I'm a bulldog. Yeah, civil engineer.
Okay.
What prepared me to be a public works director, I think, is like anything else, your experiences through life. I think that I've worked in McDonald's. I work at a hospital as an EMT and an interpreter. I work in the private sector. I work in a print shop. I've done a lot of different things.
It's a very diverse background.
Yeah, I work as an eligibility worker.
Okay.
As well. So it's a broad background, but I always have a passion for building teams, delivering projects, and technology,
and addressing problems,
solving complex problems, right? And that's really what we do every day.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love working with our teams, from the engineerings to the admin to all the teams, and building them and see them grow and deliver projects for a community. I love that. That's my passion.
What I love about your team is they just go out and solve a problem. They don't want the accolade necessarily. But it's amazing what they can get done in a crisis and in every day. Right. The problems you address, and then they move on to the next one.
We like to do it, Paul, with no drama and no ego. We just get it done, right? So.
Well, we love it. So tell us, what do you like most about your job?
I love the ability that we have to make an impact in the community for what we think is the good of the society. Solve complex problems, build a bridge that will last 70, 80 years. Traffic signals, improve traffic, safety, design of the roads, buildings. I love that. And I love working with the people, with the teams like I shared. I love working with the teams, solving these problems, and at the same time teaching people, the younger staff, how to do what they need to do, because they will be the next leaders in our department, right? So I love doing that. I love working with the community, hearing them out, learning the need so we can sometimes compromise and mitigate for the impacts of the projects that we have. We may not always agree on how we're going to do it, but we always want to get a safe project and something good that benefits the community.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your personal side when you have your downtime and time to yourself. What do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies? What do you have certain things you like to do?
Yeah. When I'm out of work, I want to get my mind off work. I like to learn something.
Yeah.
I like to learn. So I pick something to learn. Like during COVID, I learned how to be a drone pilot. I learned how to be a ham operator.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm learning how to do AI now and work with artificial intelligence and how we can benefit what we do for work. And I always like to pick something to learn. Also, I like to go out and with my wife, we go to Yorty Creek, we go kayaking.
I love it.
I live in Cloverdale.
Okay.
So I go to Cloverdale. I love to go to Plank and have coffee. When we want to go south, we go to Geyserville and we go to Diavola.
Yep.
Excellent place. Go to Santa Rosa. I like Riviera. It's a really good Italian restaurant. I like the West County. I like the ocean, the beach. I grew up by the beach, so I love to be by the ocean.
Yeah.
I like Wildflower. It's a bakery in Freestone.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah. So I love.
You're hitting on all these highlights. I love these little secret spots where Johannes goes when he's not out in the finding culverts.
Funny, I share that with Cheryl, the CAO, prior CAO.
Yeah, Cheryl Breton.
And I'm like, yeah, Plank is my second office. I'm there every Saturday. I'm there one Saturday working.
Okay, I know where to find you now.
She shows up, and we had coffee one day.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Johannes, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us. As a measure of our thanks, we'd like to give you one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs. And so we want to extend an invitation to have you back to talk more about some of these other projects. But you've been a great guest. And to our listeners, we also would like to give you a chance to win one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs. Be the first to answer our trivia question this week, and we can make sure you'll receive one. Once again, our question is, in our second episode of SoCo Chat, we had a nice conversation with Diva Marie Proto, our registrar of voters. And during that discussion, she talked about how we have one of the highest voter turnouts in the state. The question is, what was the total voter turnout in Sonoma County for the 2020 presidential election? We're looking for the percentage. What was our percentage of our turnout? If you know the answer, email it to publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Once again, that's publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Or you can call us at 565-2242. That's 565-2242. Also, if you have any comments about this or any other segment we have, or a suggestion for a future person to interview or topic for discussion, please email us at that same address, publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. In the meantime, we hope you continue to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. In the meantime, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Johannes.
Paul. My pleasure.
Yeah.